It's going to get serious. What are we doing? You know it. Oh, you know that's right. Oh, you know that's right. You know how big this is. And then all of a sudden, consent of the governed. Here we go. Another episode. It's time. Once again. Tommy P. Eric Sullivan.
Live, coming to you from Longmont, Colorado. This is Consent of the Governed with Tommy P. Patterman and Eric Sullivan.
You don't have to use that if you don't want, Jordan. So on this episode, this will be like the first real episode. This should be 001.
This should actually, this will be the real episode,
001.
and this is something I think you can agree with me on, Sully, is that this, like, we have to start talking about this and getting it out there on platforms as soon as possible, because the information is coming out so quick now that if you have any question on what's happening, use this as one of your resources if you want. I mean, I'm spending all day looking at a computer anyway, so I am just really digging deep into a lot of these different topics that we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, and for obviously 20 years, we've both been looking into all of this stuff and keeping an eye on things and noticing that things aren't quite right in the information that's being given to us. And then with the advent of the internet, all of a sudden, now we're being able to have this open source intelligence, be able to archive all of this information from what people have said in the past to what they have said now. And we're looking at this thing where I would say, we're starting to catch this, not just this engineered division, but we're actually being able to catch the engineering that they have done, right? So at this point in time, we're looking at well over the sesquicentennial, I think that's the way you say it, the 150-year mark of two-party system, right? Mm-hmm. So now that two-party system, in my opinion, is coming to a head. And, the last time that happened, yes, it was a civil war, but I think this is going different. This is an information war. And this war is having, you can definitely see the different artillery that are being used, whether it's the normal media or anything else. But yeah, go ahead.
And that's the exactly what we're seeing right now is, what we were talking about earlier. No backpedaling, just straight up contradiction. What they've said before. They are completely changing their story, even though that they are archived. We have them, on video saying the exact opposite. And just to cite a quick example would be the Fauci stuff with the face mask. That's just a quick one to throw out there. But then, the Hunter Biden scandal, where there was no scandal, there was no controversy. This was a Russian disinformation story. Just to slander the Biden family. And now you see the prominent news organizations, mainstream news, all talk about, oh my God, Hunter Biden is under investigation. He came out and said he was under tax investigation, but no, he's actually been under investigation since 2018
Yeah.
For money laundering.
I would say before then, even.
Probably before then. But I mean, just to, officially on paper, you can go out there and find the documents yourself if you want to look for them. Yeah. And that's just another one of the stories, then, another thing we talked about too, the origins of the Wu flu, of the Kung flu, of the COVID-19. Yeah. We never said it wasn't a thing. We always did. I mean, shit, you predicted it. I mean, probably 6 months before it actually happened. You really hit the nail on the head there, Sully.
Yeah.
But then, all of a sudden, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, it was breaking news on CNN that, the CCP or the Chinese or the Chicoms, whatever you want to call them, were lying to us. And their numbers aren't as nearly as low as they seem. And they're also lying to us about the origins of the actual virus itself. Right. And that was breaking news on CNN 2 weeks ago. When, I mean, I don't know how many, you want to go find it, just go look. I mean, just seriously, go look at some previous CNN articles about COVID, about, the Wu flu, and you will see completely contradicting articles and interviews and videos about all of this. I mean, so at this point, you're if you're not digging into it, you're just letting yourself be completely misled.
Right. And to just reiterate what Tom and I are doing here on Consent of the Governed. Consent of the Governed means that it's the consent of the governed, and it's all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. Tom and I are not Democrat, Republican, or independent or libertarian or anything else. We've just sat here and watched all of this stuff happen. And whether you want to say we sat on the sidelines and watched it, I would disagree because of what our band did. But in the whole raise awareness phase, of the early 2000s, late 2000s. But Tom and I are nonpartisan in this. And if you catch an air of going to one side or another, just please understand that there's something that we do, and I like to tell everybody I counter trade the news. Well, there's a reason why I counter trade the news, and that's because 5 corporations own the news, and they're owned by questionable people, and you can go and look into them, and they really do shape opinion. I'm not able to speak to a lot of people, whether they're on either side, about the way I feel. Due to this, the word that's being thrown around a lot, which I really like, is this bifurcation, this fork in intelligence, or in socioeconomics, in sociology in general. We're seeing this fork in the road, this division that has happened. And Tom and I have always been
purposely been done.
Yes.
And purposely been pushed and pushed and pushed.
Right.
And like we talked about we are more divided on so many different levels than we can ever possibly imagine. Even from, growing up in the 90s, you had a little bit of the racial shit, earlier in the 90s. And then growing up in the woods, you really didn't give a shit because it didn't matter. Right. But now, I mean, we are divided on every level you could possibly think of. The masks, like, you don't think that was another issue? I mean, so now we got black, we got white, which most people don't really give 2 shits about because most people aren't racist. We've got immigration, we have, the LGBTQ plus community, and they're infighting now because, the trans are fighting with the lesbians, and then, we're fighting on incredibly on a political level. So you have the hardcore left and the hardcore right, really just trying to beat each other down. But both of those hardcore right and lefts, they're a little bit crazy. We've still got the abortion issues. We still have the
just think about restaurants alone,
monetary,
right?
But then let's look at this virus. Let's look at this virus. Now we have not only do we have the separation with the masks and the social distancing and all the bullshit and the closing of schools and churches and all these other organizations, but we also have the now we have the vaccination issues. And see, we are like micro divided.
Yes.
Like even though
you
could be completely agreeing with somebody like let's say you're hardcore right and they're hardcore right, and you're like, yeah, but you have no business with vaccinations, and they're all for it. Now all of a sudden you're divided from them, even though you pretty much on the same. No. So every single minuscule micro subject we are divided on now.
Yeah, and it's ever present. Just go on Yelp. Somebody's favorite restaurant gets a bad grade, and all of a sudden, before you know it, there's like a whole list of comments between the two of them fighting over it, or they have to take the fight over to Reddit, and talk about this. And it's a restaurant, like, let it go. The other thing, like today, I've noticed, even in the ranks of people who aren't against, let's say, the stifling of the First Amendment, right? So Parler, and somebody who's very well knowledgeable on the subject of, technology and applications and, securing the First Amendment, this guy named Ron Code Monkey Z, all of a sudden Code Monkey Z there, he says,
Parler, yeah.
Parler it's compromised. And to be honest with you, it very well could be. I thought it was a little weird that somebody would need my identification or my social security number to do that. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, well, wait a second. The best way to make sure that there are no bots running on your platform is to put down a paywall, right? So that's that's something that's done in the cryptocurrency space a lot, just because it roots out. Like if all of a sudden somebody has to create 100,000 bots and each bot needs $5 to subscribe, that's a hefty investment to be able to make into it, right?
And I got to tell you firsthand with Parler, dude, I see the bots. I mean, I probably spend an hour a day just going through blocking and reporting, just because I want to see, the platform continue to thrive, because that's been like, I think the most voiced platform is Parler, the most not marketed, but televised.
That and Gab too. So when all of a sudden you have these things like bots come out, we're humans. We learn how to game systems. You and I can sit here and look at a system that we're looking at, this Republican, Democrat, atheist, religious, this, black and white duality, this bifurcation in society. And we could say, you know what, I agree with some of that, you agree with some of that, and I can let you, live and let live kind of thing. But it seems like everybody needs to have their side now, right? And the side is the most important thing. It's not the truth. And this level of data that we're getting, when they make data sets and they were trying to create something out of these data sets, if you get bad data in, you get bad data out. So I'm seeing people that have no idea how, they don't even know the acronym for the SCOTUS, right? They have no idea what the Supreme Court is.
They think of scrotum. They're like, scrotum?
They're like,
yeah, scrotum.
That's wrinkles. No, but it is really weird that you can have somebody, and I'm guilty of it too, right? So I'll go on Twitter and talk about, the Uniform Commercial Code and the UCC, right? Again, see, just fucked it up. And I'll go on there and talk about it. I'm not trying to be an authority on it. I'm just saying, hey, you might not understand that, or hey, my understanding is this, let's have a conversation. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, what are you, a fucking lawyer? It's like, no, I'm trying to have a fucking conversation about these things, right? And you can even get into conversations with attorneys, and whether it's in the real world or on Twitter, people just seem to like, as soon they seem really on edge. As soon as you start talking to them, you can't have an actual conversation. It just has to be a war immediately.
I'm going to bring up a little Cliff High in here too, because what you were talking about is directly related to what Cliff High is working with, and what he's doing right now on Twitter by basically playing the algorithm to try to drive up tweets that have certain linguistics in them without actually flagging the system. It's really fun to see. But what I was
it's artificial intelligence.
Everybody's on edge. Everybody's definitely on edge. We do have, probably some strange energies from space coming down here and all this weird shit happening. And with, I think this is why you had a push on both sides for the whole COVID thing, was for the sole fact that you need to take advantage of this, that people need to see it. People need to believe in things that they could not accept. People need to believe in to be able to believe in a reality that they could not accept a year ago. And that's what they're doing right now. And so people are on edge for that. And on top of that too, what this is really showing with this constant bickering on social media, what I'm seeing is people are idiots. People, I'm serious. Like I don't ever say that I'm a very intelligent person or have a way with words or anything like that. I'm not a lyricist. I can play a little guitar. I can fix your fucking computer. That's about it. But you see these people that honestly believe that, they've maybe got a 4-year degree, or mostly people that have been indoctrinated through the educational system believe that they are so fucking intelligent that their opinion matters more than yours. And the one thing that I know you and I believe is that hard work is hard work. I don't care what the fuck you're doing. Most of these blue collar cats are working their ass off and they're putting food on the table. They're getting money in. A lot of these people that have gone through and gotten these bullshit degrees are taking money from the government.
Right. Well,
I can't find a job, and I spent all this money.
You're so smart. Right.
but you're so smart, so figure it out. You know, like that's the thing. Like I just
the rubber is really
kind of drives me nuts, and you can see it in the comments that these people are making on social media, and the sources that they're grabbing from. You know, I mean, any extremist, right or left, are will grab from whatever source that fits their narrative. I mean, that's always been the case. But
cognitive dissonance.
A lot of times before, you saw, if the right would grab something from an actual reputable comment from maybe a not so reputable person, they would automatically attack the person's character, but not actually attack or condemn anything that the person actually said.
So attack the message. In my opinion, I will always attack the message, not the messenger.
Not the messenger. If the message makes sense, I mean, I don't care who's saying it. I don't have to agree with a neo-Nazi or a KKK guy, but if he says something like, "Man, dollar's going to shit and our economy sucks," I'm going to go, you know what?
Hey, that
right,
man. and that's the thing is that I think a lot of people, I've even noticed that in my professional life, working with people, how hard it is for people to take an idea that's not theirs into their brain, even if it's super small, or to be able to say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong." And just the ability to be able to delete tweets, right? So if you could never delete a tweet, what would that, action, what would change in your actions if you knew everything was in concrete, like every spelling error, everything? Like how often would tweets get done? Like I'm at this point now where I'm thinking that if everybody could just learn to say "I'm sorry" and give each other a fucking hug,
and be like, "Dude, I was totally wrong on that." Like, I will admit, I'm wrong about a lot of shit. I'm wrong about a lot of shit. I say a lot of stupid shit.
I've eaten crow for 20 years about all this freaking, conspiracy shit. I've said multiple times, I think I've said for the last 2 years that Bitcoin's going to go through the fucking roof. And it's good.
It's going to.
Right. But yeah, I mean, to move on, I mean, let's really put it down into facts. And so we're seeing this bifurcation, right? This fork, if you're going to talk about it in cryptocurrency, but this split, this schism in society. And it has everything, in my opinion, it has everything to do with information. This is the information age. We're being led down certain paths through very educated people doing very cool things with technology that is the next level of social engineering, right? You started with Edward Bernays back in the day. The Great Gatsby, that whole book is based off of what, Edward Bernays would do. How you just show up you would never show up to a party that was at your house that was an awesome mansion, and all of a sudden you were the talk of the town, right? So it was just this idea of turning propaganda into public relations gets us to where we are today. The social engineering aspect of what's going on and what we've just been having that whole conversation about. But you're seeing actual things play out, like the actual facts of it, where you can have a $41 million investigation into a president that was elected, whether rightly or not. I don't know if he was elected rightly or not in 2016. I don't know. Nobody investigated that. But what they did investigate was Russian collusion or foreign interference. And now we have actual data regarding the foreign interference with nobody's money, nobody's tax money, investigating that stuff, just people out on the internet scouring. And we're actually finding information that, yes, there was foreign interference before the election is even called. Not after it was called and there was an inauguration. But,
well, this is what we were talking about earlier too. What drives me absolutely nuts. This is what grinds my gears, man. Is the fact that that we spent the last 4.5-5 years like the left not accepting an election, not only not accepting the results, not finding any irregularities, not enough to actually have any lawsuits against any sort of states. And then after that, they couldn't accept the election. So that was the Russian collusions, the Russians, right. Over a phone
the
call.
Ukrainian phone call.
We all read the manuscripts and heard, and it was It was a perfect phone call. it was flawless. It was the best.
Tremendous.
It was the best, most bigly phone call I've ever made.
It was huge.
He was huge.
They love me.
But then, yeah, so we said 3.5 years on there, $41 million of taxpayers' money, still to find, that they built the case on a phony document that was proven phony over and over again. And now they're telling us that, no, we just have to accept these election results where, Biden got, 80 million votes, the most votes of any president. But we saw it with our own eyes. Anybody that was paying attention, he had no momentum. There was no momentum. There was no, people were voting him because it was Orange Man bad. And the TDS syndrome really started to kind of creep away from a lot of different major political groups.
Right.
They stopped caring about, they're like, Trump may be an overspoken asshole, and cocky as fuck. But man, he's really actually putting our best interests forward here. Like, I think maybe that we should pay attention. I don't trust anybody. I don't care. But when I've seen where the country has went in the last 20 years, and I've seen the downfall, and I've seen the corruption. I mean, if anybody after 9/11 didn't look at it going, something stinks to high heaven right here, and we've always been sitting on the fence, before then. But after that, it was very apparent. And then it was the Bushes, and it was like, these guys. I remember when we were down there protesting Bush.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, the majority of the album was written Bush and prior to that.
Yeah.
And then we had Obama, and it got even worse. And we had the same pieces of shit senators and congressmen and women, and we kept doing the same stupid, and we never got ahead. Things just got worse and worse and worse.
Right. And the crazy thing is that, like, you and I, we have a lot of friends, whether it's friends close to us now or friends in the past, or we're surrounded by military all the time. For the most part, we know a lot of people that are involved in the military. I know I have been for a long time in my life, cops, all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. And we write a song called Draft Dodger and then get kicked out of Colorado Springs, right? Like, you can't, we're very respectful to the military. We love, what they do. We just don't. But
we also saw, yeah, exactly. We saw the massive corruption in that sort of sense where it's like, why, okay, so this Osama bin Laden guy blew up these towers. Why in the hell are we bombing Iraq? Mm-hmm. Like, what? And then the weapons of mass destruction, all that. I mean, it was just, dude, our entire lives before the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And, I hate that I'm praising or even giving, thumbs up to administration, because I hate big government altogether. But before he came in, I didn't vote since Ron Paul was, ran for the Republican Party. Our entire lives were filled with endless wars. We were at war since we were born.
Yes.
And I mean, for the first time, we didn't start a new war with a new president
or a new country. I mean, a lot of bombs got dropped. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like Trump is
no. I mean, yeah, he
put a lot of money into the military industrial complex. He did a lot of things.
He did.
I mean, he created a whole new branch of government, of military, called the Space Force. Like, I don't know what the fucking Space Force does. No clue. I know a lot of people that are involved in technology. I don't think any of them, they're just speculating what the Space Force does. I mean, I can agree that the Chinese, freaking space station looks an awful lot like the one we put up. So I can tell you that China probably stole our shit or bought it or whatever, right?
Or we sold it to them.
Or we sold it to them, or we gave them either way. I mean,
here, once again, and let's talk about Chinese collusion here. Look at that Swalloway guy, out in
Swalwell,
California. What in the hell? The FBI has him banging a Chinese spy that he's married with kids, by the way.
Well, no, how long were they sitting on that?
Oh, yeah.
How long was the FBI sitting on that?
And then Pelosi says we're not supposed to care about that. Oh, it's not a big deal.
No, it's just it's absolutely asinine in my opinion, where you have this this double justice system, this two-tiered justice system where, rules are for thee, not for me. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't been done since, monarchies, patriarchies.
I was going to say something about that too.
Doesn't happen in free market.
I mean, we technically, the justice system is still like, justice can still be brought. Like, the problem is these people are never brought to justice because there's so many dirty people along the way. I mean, look at Emmett Sullivan, that piece of shit judge. Look at his kid.
Absolutely. I mean, and I share the namesake.
He's a monster, man.
Yeah. If
he just keeps pushing the old Flynn case down the road. That's what I'm excited to find out. What's going to happen when Flynn really starts talking?
Agreed. And the funny thing is a lot of people aren't catching the little things that are happening, right? The precedents that are being set throughout this entire thing. Never once has, in my knowledge anyway, a judge actually said, "Oh wait, the prosecutor's dropping the case. No, we're going to go amicus briefing. Like, I want to get opinions from Rhodes scholars in law around the country before I drop the case." And it's not like just the prosecutor dropped the case. The entire Department of Justice is like the highest prosecutors in the land. They're like, "Hey, we're going to drop the case," and the judge is like, "No, I don't think I'm going to do that." The judge is there to do nothing more than to say, "Hey, prosecutor, what do you have against this guy? Well, prove it." Like, that's his job. It's not to go anything, further than that. But the other thing we're seeing, to discuss this weird, intrinsic, freaking garbage society that we have right now, is this Chinese, all of a sudden a Chinese company is involved in voting systems and the Republicans go apeshit bananas, right? Well, where were they there? Where were they in 2016? Where were they?
Well, I got to tell you,
going on. Right?
Well, I was listening to the AG of Texas, the Attorney General of Texas, and he said that they had to petition and block the Dominion voting system 3 separate times because they kept on trying to push it so hard.
Oh, in Texas?
Yeah, that was Texas, and then it happened in a lot of different states across the union.
Right. But you can see back in, you can see like various articles back from 2003 to 2008, where the Democrats were discussing Dominion voting systems, where they didn't want to see, Bush take the next, his second term. Right. So, I mean, I'm looking at all of this stuff, whether it's, Chinese or whatever. To me, all of this stuff to go 30,000 foot view, to me, it looked like we were being set up for the next empire switch, right? So Romans went, you could say Babylonians went to the Egyptians went to Rome went to England and the Dutch. And all of a sudden that ends up being America. Those are like the chronological order of empires, right? And to me, this looks like a setup to give China the next reign. Like, you're going to be the next empire. Everything in my studies and things I look at, it looks like, whether it's monetary policy, right off the bat in Trump's, in Trump's first 4 years, right? The first part of it was, well, let's screw over the US dollar. And it was we were talking about currency wars for the first 2 years with us and China. And Trump is saying, no, China's devaluing, so we have to pay more. And then there's talk of tariffs and all this other stuff. It just really seems like you don't hear about the BRICS nations anymore, right? BRICS.
You don't hear anything about BRICS.
You don't hear, dude. And that was going to be, in my opinion, that was going to be the switching over.
That was Brazil, Russia, India,
China,
yep.
And Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And India is on board with the United States. We haven't, fact, I haven't heard, not to change subject here, but I haven't heard a lick about India
or BRICS. Like, dude,
or BRICS. But I mean, look at the relationship that the administration created with India. I mean, dude, when he went over there, you had 180,000 people in a freaking soccer stadium,
right?
And hugging the prime minister over there, and people go crazy. I mean, dude, and once again, look at, dude. I don't know. I'm not going to call this administration. I'm not going to call Trump a lame duck ever, because look at even what he's done over the Middle East. Look at today.
I can't. He's the only one. He's the only one I've ever been able to research and at least be able to trust everything, to where the guy promised something and he actually did it or attempted to do it.
And like we talked about, like a few years ago, what sort of dictator? Or no, this was last year actually when they started shutting shit down. What sort of dictator, deems gun stores, essential businesses?
Dude, that just jacks my mind up.
No dictator is going to arm their citizens. I mean, unless they have something that is going to blow our bullets away. But the problem is, you kill us all.
They do.
We know they do. But once again, you kill everybody. Then what good are you? You cease to exist.
And that's one of the things, like, about not just like this president. I mean, this whole administration and this whole last 4 years, I've never once, when he got elected, I stayed up and watched it. And the first thing I thought was, well, I know what I'm getting out of Hillary. I have no clue what I'm getting out of Donald. In this election, I know what I'm getting out of Biden. I still have no fucking clue what I'm getting out of Donald. This could be one of the greatest setups of all times to put patriots on their haunches. This could be one of the greatest setups of all time, because the whole time and this goes to the whole duality of things, right? The whole time he's doing this and trying to show people the Constitution and stuff, he could rip that rug right out from under him just with what he's already has taken care of regarding executive orders. Like, why would you let this COVID virus and all that stuff go on unless you had, I guess he could blame it on the states, actually. I mean, he could say, hey, I didn't tell the country to lock down. I said, I left it to the states.
That's one
maybe
thing
he could say sorry. Maybe he could be like, hey, I listened to the experts that Fauci got. Sorry. Maybe we should start.
No, you know what?
Authority.
Your governor,
came out and said that.
Your local governors, your local mayors, your local leaders were the ones that locked you down.
Right.
Not him. There was no national lockdown whatsoever.
Right.
The only lockdown there was keeping people coming over from China.
Well, I mean, we went all over the place on this. We got to do a part 2 to this. You got the time tonight? You got a collared shirt on. You got the time. Come on.